Hello, Mary me. So today in Norway we are about 1 week from the election, and so I thought I would make a video about elections and magic. Basically, I've discussed this with a few people, and the discussion is whether or not it is okay to use magic to influence an election, influence politics in general, and also whatever or not you can do it if it's possible. So let's take the question about whatever or not it's possible first. There are this rumor that Gareth Gardner, the founder of Wicca, and his coven cast a spell to keep Hitler out of England, and well, he didn't come to England. But whatever or not their ritual had anything to do with it, that's hard to say. But I think it's possible. I think anything is possible with magic. However, how difficult is it? Um, that's really the point. Two cats are fighting out there. I just hope my cat isn't involved this time. I don't think she is. I think she's in the bedroom. Anyway, excuse the interruption. The way I see it, it's a little bit the same as with the lottery. A lot of people who are skeptical towards magic say, but if magic is real, why don't anybody just cast a spell to win the lottery? Well, here's the point. There are so many people wishing, praying, and having their hopes and dreams tied up with the lottery. And while I did make a video where I talked about wishes and thoughts with magical intent, all of that wishing do generate energy. And so you can look at it like this. It's like a crowd, a huge crowd on a concert. Just this sea of people. Just that it's a sea of energy. And you are trying to shout across and get your point across to somebody on the other side of the field. Now, if there isn't a lot of people there, then it shouldn't be that difficult to shout to the person on the other side of that field hear what you have to say. But if it's the music is on the people, it's just this mass of people or energy. Getting that done is much more difficult. And I mean, who doesn't dream about winning the lottery? And all of that wishing creates a chaos of energy that's very difficult to cut through. And it's the same with elections. There's so much emotion, so many people, and while most of it are not direct spells, depending on how you look at it, it is still creating that mass of energy that can be very difficult to cut through. But yeah, I think that if you can get through that, you can definitely affect politics with magic. Now, whatever or not it's moral. Now that's another question. I can see a few places where someone might have a problem with using magic for politics. Morally speaking, one is using magic to affect other people's will. If you, for example, do magic so that your favorite party will win, then in effect you are trying to manipulate the actions of the people around you who will then vote for this. Now, it's of course possible to phrase your spells in a way that doesn't go directly on people's free will, but instead phrasing it like um, let this party shine, and the faults of the opponents becoming very clear. Then it's not directly manipulating manipulating someone's free will. And that might be something that people have a less moral problem with. Another thing is that if you are a Wiccan and you're following the idea of doing no harm, then it's very difficult to know what the consequences such an action will have. For example, take in the United States now. Obama seemed to be a pretty good choice, right? He promised to close down Guantanamo Bay. He promised to do a lot of those things. But he has been working with drone strikes and do that a lot. He has done a lot of questionable things. And that can definitely be seen as harm, even if you did your spell to have a politician elected with the best of intentions. And yes, you can do divination, you can do such things to try to get a bit better grasp on the consequences. But still, there might be unforeseen consequences in using magic to help one party or politician succeed or another. On the other hand, like I discussed with another pagan once, I had a debate with a person, and what we were discussing was whether or not it was moral to use magic to win money. Because that, but he says, what if you win that money and it could have been won by somebody who needed it more? And so on and so forth. And I do see his point, but at the same time, I think that you if you take that line of thought too far, you will be completely paralyzed. Because then you have that butterfly effect. And yeah, sure, that I stop somebody to ask them what time is it, or if the bus has gone yet, might just delay them just long enough that they meet a friend, will talk with that person, which will result in that person being 5 minutes late, so that a car that would have hit them drive on and hit old granny with her grandchild instead. And I mean, even the simplest act can lead to sad consequences. And if you're going to think like that, you can't do anything. So the way I look about the consequences of my actions is direct consequences that I know about. Anything else is not my concern. And that might sound harsh, but really. But like I said, you have to think pretty hard and fast on whether or not you will affect an election like that. And the same way, if you're going to affect politics out of an election, affect how a politician does things. Again, do you affect somebody's free will? And what consequences will this magic then ultimately have? On the other hand, I have always said that magical actions are no more right or wrong than mundane actions. So I mean, if you are posting links to a certain party all over your Facebook, you make videos supporting them, you wear the button saying vote such and such, you are trying to influence people to vote the way you want them to. And I don't see that that kind of influence is anything more right or wrong than doing magic for the same thing. So for me, I think that the answer to the question on whether or not it's moral to do magic to affect an election and politics in general is that I am skeptical about using magic to directly affect somebody's free will. I am not going to waggle my finger and say something is ultimately wrong. I'm a left-hand practitioner, and as such, I think that we form our own morality. However, I think that one has to think long and hard before one do such a thing. However, if one do magic that is not meant to affect people's free will, let's say you you form a spell like I hope the wisdom of this party will shine through and it will gain the favor of its followers, if it is their choice to give that favor. For example, that can send energies to help them without trying to influence somebody's minds directly. And then I think it's okay. I think that, for me at least, it's completely okay. However, I can see that if you are following the idea that you should never do any harm, and you are very conservative about the idea of consequences, including taking responsibility for all possible unseen consequences of every action you have, several lines down, then I think it can be a problem. So I think that, for example, somebody who follows the Wick and read very closely can have a problem with this. For me, however, I would say that as long as it doesn't directly influence other people's minds, I don't see that it's anything worse than my earring fell off. That it's anything wrong than just simply simply writing about it on your Facebook or mundanely trying to influence politics. For me, Magick is just one more tool that you can use for such things. So yeah, that's my opinion on it. I think it's both possible and morally okay to use magic to influence politics, but of course you have to use the same responsibility with that as you do with voting or anything else with politics. You have to be sure that before you promote an idea, that it is something that you can truly stand behind. So I hope you have enjoyed this video, and blessed be.